Live this morning. Good having you with us here on this sort of grayish day. The sun trying to pop in and out. Hey, we want you to give us a phone call right now because the legal line is open. 502-276-2118. Karl Truman is here. You've been in an accident. You slipped. Car wreck. It happens when we get rain. Workers' comp. Social Security disability. You better call right now.
Morning.
Good morning, Karl.
Great.
How are you?
Back. Fine.
Absolutely. Now, we've got a list of things we want to talk to.
Someone asked me to ask you about the children's medicine recall. It happened with Johnson & Johnson with some children's Zyrtec, some children's Benadryl, and there were a few others. Mm-hmm. They were like, well, I saw some stuff on TV or I read it here, but I never got we were just supposed to throw it away. What was good, what was bad? When you have medicine recalls like this, and someone pays $6 for this bottle, $8 for this bottle, first of all, I guess there should be some reimbursement, but should they just throw it away, or should they call?
Obviously, there should be some, but a $6 bottle of medicine is not worth getting sick over. It's just not worth taking the chance. With these medicine recalls, obviously it's always a significant issue, and some of it is precautionary. Some of it has different varying levels of severity. I mean, we've seen everything from the Fen to Bausch and Lomb, and all these cases, and sometimes they can be very severe injuries. And, so you got to take this stuff very seriously to take care of it and address it.
If there was a recall happens and you actually have the product, whatever it might be, of course you don't want to use it. That's a safety issue. But would you suggest hanging on to the bottle, maybe wrapping it with tape or something? That way, if somebody does get sick, you still have the original packaging or whatever
if there's some illness. I mean, obviously that is one of the issues in medicine, is to tracking that, yes, you took this particular medicine. I mean, there was one particular drug that I was involved in some litigation on that had wrong dosages packaged, from the factory. But then the issue came up from a litigation standpoint, tracking this dose to this lot number, and did you get, people had illnesses, but tracking, is this illness from this medicine, and was this medicine in this batch that was bad? And that could get very complicated.
Because you can't prove that what you actually ingested came from that bottle.
It can be difficult, again, without, prescription medicines, it's a little bit easier to track lot numbers and packages back through the pharmacy, but certainly having the bottle, if you do get sick, having that bottle to know where it came from and when it was manufactured, that does really help.
We want to take your phone calls, 502-276-2118, 502-276-2118. You talked about the medicine. Same with the lettuce that was recently recalled with E. coli. It's tough to track it. But when should you at home call an attorney, whether it's a product situation, maybe an accident or something like that? When should someone pick up the phone and actually call an attorney and say, some people are afraid to even call. They don't know what to say. But that's the good thing about your office is you'll walk them through the process if there's something there or not.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing to be afraid about with calling an attorney. I mean, I'm here to make the process easier and go smoother. I tell my clients I'm here to worry about the bureaucracy and the insurance and everything else, so you can worry about getting better. But like the lettuce situation, I was involved in some peanut butter, back when we hear about the peanut butter going bad in the E. coli and peanut butter, I was involved in some of that litigation. And so many people had symptoms that were similar to the illness from the peanut butter, but once we got into their medical record and really dug through it, sometimes it was tough making that connection that there weren't other things that they could have eaten or been exposed to that cause similar conditions. And so that can be very tough.
Yeah. Okay, well, again, we do have the phone lines open for your questions for Karl, 276-2118. We have a caller on the line now, Ronald in Louisville. Hi, Ronald.
Hello.
Go ahead with your question for Karl.
Yes, I have a question. My sister just went to the doctor and found out she had scoliosis, and like one of her hips is higher than the other, and she wanted to know if it's possible for her to collect disability.
Okay. Thank you for your call,
Thank you, Ronald.
It really depends on the severity of the condition. I mean, there's many factors that go into it. I mean, certainly, there are people who work with scoliosis and some who don't. So they really look at the whole person, not just what is your illness, unless, of course, it's a very severe, like a terminal illness. But so to answer that question, you have to look at what is her age, education, work history, past jobs she's had. What are her physical limitations? Is there some sedentary job she can do? So is this enough to keep her from doing other types of gainful employment? So I'm afraid it's not a simple yes or no question. It's a lot more into that, a lot more in-depth analysis, what goes into getting disability.
Now, Karl, if they do want to pursue that, what's the first call that they make? Is there a number they call from their work, as far as the disability, or is it
Well, if the person has not applied yet, they've got a couple options. There are cases where we help the person with the initial application.
Okay.
Sometimes people go ahead and apply themselves for the very first time and wait till they get turned down and then call us.
Okay.
So we can always try to advise someone from an initial review standpoint, for the initial application. But people do it both ways. Sometimes people go ahead and apply, and you never know. Sometimes you might get lucky and get approved on your own.
It's worth a shot.
It does not cost anything to apply.
Okay.
Workers' comp, Social Security disability, or accident, you can call us right now, 502-276-2118. And after we're off the air, you may want to write down 1-800-ACCIDENT. 1-800-ACCIDENT. That is Karl's number. He does practice in Kentucky and Indiana. But we have a call right now. Elsie from Jeffersonville, from Indiana, is calling. Louisville Live this morning. Good morning, Elsie.
Good morning.
Or Jeffersontown, I'm sorry. Jeffersontown, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, my grandson is 17, and he has anemia. And is he eligible for any type of disability for medicare things?
Elsie, can you repeat that? Is it you say your son or your grandson has what?
My grandson has sickle cell anemia.
Okay.
Sickle cell anemia, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and is he eligible for any type of disability for medicare, or he's 17?
Okay.
I think she's asking if we can get in touch with
If there's
Medicare.
some assistance there, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, he may be eligible for SSI and Medicaid, under Kentucky Medicaid. Not necessarily, probably not Medicare, which is a federal program, but Medicaid is a state program. Mm-hmm. And then also SSI is generally what children would receive, because to get Social Security disability, you have to establish a work history. So, he may be eligible for some of those other benefits.
What should she do? Okay. Should she, what's her first step?
Well,
should
the first
she call
step,
a lawyer like yourself?
Well, in that situation, I think the first step would be to call the state to apply for Medicaid, if he's not on some other health insurance through the family, and then also to just go ahead and call Social Security office and to ask about the SSI benefits, because in SSI there's also a lot of other asset limits and things that go into that. So I would call the Social Security office and then call the state Medicaid passport office.
Taking your phone calls, 502-276-2118. We're here with Karl Truman. I know we talk about it from time to time. You practice in both Kentucky and Indiana. And that's a big advantage when you're talking about representing people in all of Kentucky. And why did you choose to practice in both states?
Well, it's a great benefit, and again, we've talked before about an attorney has to be licensed in the state where the injury or where the lawsuit is. You can't practice law unless you're licensed in that state, and it's very helpful to be able to be licensed as being on the border here to be able both states. For example, I just recently met with a client just the other day who was in a severe automobile accident. He was actually hit by a tractor trailer on the highway. He lives in Kentucky, but he was visiting some friends across the river in Indiana. So the wreck happened in Indiana. He lives in Kentucky. How do the laws work together to get medical bills paid, to get under your Kentucky auto insurance, but yet the claim would actually be initiated in Indiana? So again, being licensed in both of those states, I'm able to work the two laws together for my client's best interest.
Okay, which makes it a smoother process for them to get through.
And make sure when you talk to an attorney, make sure that they are even licensed. There's attorneys on television today that aren't even licensed here in Kentucky at all, from Florida and other states. I actually saw a website once from an attorney in Texas. On their website, they actually said, if you're hurt in Kentucky, you don't need a Kentucky lawyer, you can call me. Well, that's unethical and actually illegal to do that.
Well, Karl Truman is with us every Tuesday taking your calls. When he's not here, you can call him, 1-800-ACCIDENT. His staff will be more than happy to work with you. Karl, thanks for being with us.
Thank
See you next Tuesday.
Always good to see you.
All right. Still ahead on Louisville Live this morning, Galen College